Karma is predestined and cannot be changed. So karma is often misunderstood here in the West. It is not fate, like I mentioned before. It definitely can be changed. Otherwise, if you are a bad person, you will just continue to be bad, and there's no reason for you to even be a Buddhist or even be good, because your fate will just stay the same. You can view karma as a big jar full of water. So you may sometimes put dirty water in there, and sometimes you put clean water in there. And the more clean water you put in, the more diluted the dirty water becomes. When you add enough clear, pure water in there, eventually the dirty water will be non-existent. So good and bad karma don't cancel out each other. You just try to avoid doing one and do a lot of the other, the good karma. And the funny thing is, there is no set timeline for karma to happen to you. Karma is like a seed that you plant. A lot of things that you do, whether good or bad, can and will grow, almost like accumulating interest in a bank account. It even though you might think that giving a homeless person $1 is nothing, is really small, it will grow over time and manifest in other ways in your life later on, whether it's this life or in the next life. Conversely, if you do something small, like stealing a pencil off of your classmate's desk, it will also manifest back up sometime later in your life. So because of that, people think karma can be changed in this life, and that it's just set and you're on this course, you can't move it. It's I would say it's very hard for people who aren't aware of karma to change their own karma, but it is changeable. If you do good things happen to you. It is just a law of cause and effect. And how hard it is to change just depends on your current karma already. Some people obviously will have more dirty water, some people more pure water, and depending on where you are, adding more pure water or more dirty water will make things happen and come to fruition just based on your current situation. And so because it's so unpredictable, and you might not see results right away, people think that karma is set, but it really is not. And there definitely are ways to change it by doing a lot of good actions and good deeds. Number 8, Buddhism is morbid and it is stoic. So if you learned about Buddhism or heard its teachings before, to the beginner it sounds very morbid because it talks about death and it talks about suffering, and there's a lot of emphasis on that, especially at the foundational stage of learning. And because it emphasizes on suffering and on karma and that talking about why things are the way they are, there's definitely an element of stoicism in there where you're kind of told to endure this hardship because this happened because you did this before. I wouldn't say that's completely inaccurate. However, it is not morbid, in essence. It is just being real. So much of our society tries to sugarcoat impermanence and death, and that's really doing a disservice to the people of that society, because you feel like you can't talk about it. And when you can't talk about it, it becomes an even bigger fear because it is unknown. By having the chance to speak about it and to talk about it openly, you will start to fear it less and see it more as just a natural cycle and a natural phase in life that everyone and everything has to undergo. So, by acknowledging that there is change and that people die and that people leave you, you will just accept things the way they are and see things the way they are. It's not saying that you shouldn't be sad or that you can't do anything about it. It's just an acceptance of a fact that the weather changes, or that the river has to flow, or that your favorite flavor of ice cream is no longer sold at Baskin Robbins. Things like that happen all the time, and by not accepting the change, you only bring more suffering onto yourself. It's like hitting your head against the wall. Why would you inflict more damage on yourself? So instead of thinking of it as morbid, think of it as a permission to discuss and to talk and think about these different things that you've been told not to think about. Because only by acknowledging this very foundational knowledge of our life, only then can you truly be happy, because you are accepting of major changes that happen in your life and even ways to deal with it. And yeah, Buddhism is a little bit stoic, but I mentioned in my compassion versus wisdom video that it's not just all hard logic. There is a lot of love and compassion for all living beings when you are a Buddhist, and that is not necessarily logical. It is just natural to start thinking that way. You start to think of the living things around you as yourself. It's like thinking of whether you like your left arm more than your right arm. You like both because they are a part of you and you don't want any of them cut off from you. So it is a little bit different than just hard code facts and enduring through pain like Stoicism. There really is a lot of unconditional love associated with being a Buddhist. Number 9, a Buddhist must abandon all worldly pleasures and attachments. So this is a common misconception as well. People think you must be an ascetic in order to practice Buddhism. You must go out into the mountains and meditate and not think of any worldly pleasures like sex and alcohol and TV shows and comic books and video games. You can't have any of that. People think you need to live as a monk in order to be a good Buddhist, and that's just not true. You can be a Buddhist just as you are. You don't need to abandon all attachments and desires, because how can you have the desire to become a Buddha or become enlightened if you abandon all desires? That just doesn't make any sense. You can still have attachment, you can still enjoy things in life, you can have that piece of chocolate, you can go see a movie and still enjoy it. You don't have to abandon all those things. It's more the emphasis on being mindful of what you're thinking and what you're craving and what you have an aversion of. Being aware of those things actually helps you see insights into the reality of the nature of your mind. So it's using the things around you to cultivate. It's not abandoning them altogether. It's using it to your advantage, just like how they say if people give you lemons, make lemonades. The same concept applies where you can use the so-called problems, so-called desires and attachment to your advantage by studying them, by studying how you react to them. Be very specific and very methodical and logical in how you observe yourself and how you react. And this will not only help you better understand yourself and even control your craving next time, it can help you ultimately have a better understanding of your mind, and the ultimate understanding of the mind is enlightenment. Number 10, one cannot be both a Christian and a Buddhist. So I got this question a few times before from people who are visiting our centers. This one guy told me that I love Jesus and I love the Buddha. What should I do? And the master that he was talking to, that I was translating for at the time, told him, why not love both? It's not so much which religion you choose as much as it is how it makes you feel. Now, there's no hard and fast rule for choosing your religion. It is very much an affinity that you feel towards certain kinds of practices and beliefs. So being Buddhist, we believe in past lives and rebirth. And because you have past lives, you have memories from previous lives that will influence how you think and how you behave in this life. Because of that, you actually already have a preference for something right at the moment that you're born. All that is to say that you actually have a preference for certain things because of previous conditioning. The teachings of Jesus and the teachings of Buddha do not contradict each other at all. On the contrary, they actually complement each other. So you technically can be both a Christian and a Buddhist. However, that's not recommended. The reason why is you will have a little bit of a harder time growing yourself spiritually if you pursue both at the same time. It is like trying to climb up a mountain, but you have to do it from two separate roads. So you're dividing your time between this one road of the Buddhist faith, and you're coming up, coming up, coming up. And then halfway through, you decide to go study some of Christianity, and so you go to another road and you go up, 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 up. And then so you got two paths going on here where you're only halfway through, and then you die, and nothing happens. So you didn't achieve anything because you did everything. It's a matter of time and energy. If you split your attention between two different things that requires immense focus and dedication, you will not do as well in either of them. There is no one right path, like I said before, with the 84,000 different kinds of ways that you can actually become enlightened. You can still be a great human being and a great sage by being a Christian. It just depends on how you practice it. Same in Buddhism, you can still be a pretty bad person and still call yourself a Buddhist. It just depends on how you practice it, if you're practicing it in the right way. My suggestions to anyone who is having this same dilemma is to attend congregations at churches and learn more about the teachings of Jesus Christ and understand what you value and whether it matches with the values that you see in that congregation and in what you're hearing from the sermons and the Bible. And to compare and contrast, you can then go to a Buddhist community or a temple and join their gatherings and to see what it is they preach, what the Buddha says, what the Sutra says, and see how it feels for you and whether that it matches up with what you believe in. So it is a feeling. It is very intangible, and everyone is different, so I can't advise one way or the other, and not even limiting it to Christianity and Buddhism, because those are definitely not the only two prevalent religions in the world. There are many ways you can become a good person and live a peaceful, happy life, and so go out and explore to find out the best path for you to take. Well, that's all I have for you today. Hope you enjoyed the top 10 most common misconceptions of Buddhism. Be sure to comment below and give me suggestions on what I should talk about next, or what questions you have about Buddhism or about living in America as a Buddhist, being Asian American. Whatever questions you have for me, please leave it in the comments below. Be sure to like and subscribe. I will see you guys in 2 weeks. Bye!